So welcome to the virtual career speaker series session that's celebrating Black History Month. This presentation will feature the legal profession. We want to welcome our speaker, Mr. Corian Johnson, who is an assistant district attorney with the Victoria County District Attorney's Office. Mr. Johnson hails from Birmingham, Alabama. He graduated from Texas Southern Law School, and he's been at the DA's office for a year now. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the meeting over to you, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, my name is Corian Johnson. I'm Assistant District Attorney here in Victoria County, Texas. Pretty much I handle the misdemeanor division, all the misdemeanor cases that come through our office. When I first started, I handled misdemeanor and juvenile cases, but now I'm just solely focused on misdemeanors at this point. Pretty much what I do at the office, when cases are presented to us from either the sheriff's office or the police department, I screen those cases. I make sure that they meet the elements of the crime and that we have enough evidence to prove the defendant's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt at trial. I accept those cases. Now, if there are some issues with the cases, I review those, and I may end up declining if I don't feel like we're able to meet that burden of proof that we have. So I do that. I meet with witnesses. I interview the witnesses to the case. I prepare for trial. I prepare plea bargaining agreements between the office and the defendant's attorney, and try to dispose of the cases. Or if we're not able to work out a deal, then we go to trial, and I prepare for trial. The only thing I don't do, if the case goes to an appeal, I don't handle those. We have an appellate lawyer specifically at the office that handles those type of cases at the appellate level. Pretty much what I enjoy most about my job is that working in the public sector, you don't have to worry about, I guess you don't really have a boss. Your boss is the public good. So you can make the right decision. When you're in private practice, when you work for yourself, pretty much you can't do anything without the okay from the client that hired you. Now, that may be a good thing or a bad thing because they're able to say, I don't want to take a deal. I may want to go to trial, and you and your experience, you may know that they don't really have a good chance of winning that trial, but you can't force them to settle or you can't force them to plead. So it's kind of, you got to deal with those type of situations. Like here, you make the right decision. You may have an assault family violence case, and the victim of the assault may not want you to press charges. They may not want you to go forward, but you can go with your gut intuition and just say, no, we need to intervene in this situation before something more drastic happens. And you're able to make the right decision, which is a lot of times the most difficult decision to make. You're able to make those decisions. That's what that's what I like most about my job, is being able to go with my gut, go with my intuition, and just make the right decision that I can sleep with, that I can go to bed and sleep good at night. As far as like level of training, obviously, to become an attorney, you gotta go to college, you gotta get a bachelor's degree, which take 4 years. If you go straight through, then you have 3 years of law school. And then right now you have the bar exam. I know it's changed since I've taken the bar exam. It's more of when I took the bar exam, Texas had their own individualized test. Now Texas is under what's called a UBE, which is Uniform Bar Exam. It's 36 states that participate in this UBE. So basically what that means is more of a standardized test in those 36 states. So basically each state has their own passing requirement. So if you take the Texas UBE and they give you a certain score, if your score is also eligible to is satisfactory in another state that has UBE, you can waive until that state more easily. So basically it makes it easier for you to get licensed in multiple states, as opposed to have to take an entirely different bar exam which I know a lot of lawyers don't like to do, especially when they first start out. So it kind of makes it more easier to get multiple licenses. And at that point, you get sworn in, and you take the oath to do right by the profession, and then they give you your license. And then to keep your license active, you have to pay dues, things like $100 a year or something like that. And then you have to do what's called CLEs, which is continuing legal education courses. So you always got to stay abreast of what's going on new in the law. If there's any new change in technology, how it affects the law, you got to have CLEs on that, or just CLEs on whatever practice of law that you're in. So whether it's criminal law, whether it's probate law, which is where you deal with preparing wills and probating the estates for the deceased and their loved ones, then you still have to get continuing education classes on that. I guess if they're what academic skills you may need, I think, to be a lawyer. I think the two main things you have to, I say three. One, you have to know how to communicate very well, verbally and in writing. So you have to learn how to communicate. That's a big part of our job, is just communicating, whether it's to clients, whether it's to the judge, to a jury, to be persuasive. Because a lot of times the law is cut and dry, but then you got to apply the law to the facts. And a lot of times, one thing you'll learn as an attorney, this profession, that people's lives are very messy, and you got to cut through all that clutter. You need to know how to communicate. You need to understand human nature, to be able to effectively communicate. And two, you just gotta. It's mostly just reading and writing. Just know how to research. Those are the skills that you're gonna need. And two, just being able to, once you know you have the right answer, just stand firm in your beliefs. Because a lot of individuals want to try to talk you out of a case, like, oh, it's not a good case, and so doubt into your mind. So you just gotta, once you learn the right answer, and just go, because a lot of these cases can go either way. But it's a lot of, I guess, a lot of individuals have a poker face, and they try to act like they're confident in their case, that they're right, but then they're made, underneath the surface, they may say, oh man, I don't know if we can win this case. So it goes on both sides. As far as unpaid or paid internships, I know that there are always a lot of unpaid internships. A lot of people need help. A lot of people can give you the experience that you need before you leave law school, or even before you go to law school. You can work as a paralegal, just to learn the insides and outs of the law office, just to make sure that this is something that you want to invest in before you go straight into law school. Take on debt. It'd be a good opportunity just to go, just be a paralegal, just talk to attorneys and sit in on consultations where you meet with a prospective client, and they'll tell you they're telling you about their case, and you have to decipher what you have to figure out what they need, because a lot of times clients don't really know what legal issues they have, or what role they want to take, or what they need to file. So you just basically just listen to them and say, okay, well, this is what you need to do, and you got to figure that out. So you always have those. I'm pretty sure a lot of people, especially unpaid internships, but there are paid internships as well. There's different programs that you can take. One thing that I did in law school, it's this organization called the Fund for Legal Studies, and I took advantage of that after your first year in law school. They classify you as a 1L, 2L, or 3L, and that's the technical terminology for when you're in law school. Which instead of saying I'm a freshman, sophomore, senior, or anything like that, you just say 1L, 2L, and 3L. So after my 1L year, I enrolled this program called the Fund for Legal Studies. So basically what they did is sent you to Washington, D.C., they paid for your housing. They paired you up with a local government agency or a law firm in the Washington, D.C. area. And that's where you got your experience. So they had us working 40 hours a week, like a real job. And then we got a chance to just be in there day in, day out for the entire summer. Then afterwards, they also paired us. We also went to George Mason School of Law, which is a local area law school out there. And then we took a class there. And then in the middle of that, they also took us pretty much all around DC, took us to the Supreme Court, took us to the World Bank, and just have all these activities for us just to make the most worthwhile experience. So obviously, you know, those type of opportunities are out there just to kind of get your feet in the door, just to, you know, learn more about being a lawyer. Because in school, you just, you know, you learn the basics, but law school won't prepare you for what's to come when you're actually practicing law. And so it's definitely helpful. 'Cause I remember in law school, even when I was in law school before I was a licensed attorney yet, everyone just assumes that you know every law that was ever written. And you know, we research a lot of our time is researching the law, trying to understand the law, and being able to apply the law to particular facts for our client, or for our, in my position for the victim in this case. I think the big issue is how has COVID-19 affected the profession. I think it's kind of slowing down now, but obviously when it first took off, we weren't able to have trials initially. So it kind of hurt us because, you know, we couldn't have the defense attorneys make their client make a decision because they knew we couldn't go to trials at the time. Better do a lot of things through video. Now it's not so much interference. Well, we're still dealing with the aftermath of having a lot of backlog cases. So we still have a lot of cases on the docket from 2019, you know, that still needs to be disposed of either by a plea agreement or by taking it to trial. So, and then on top of that, in criminal law, it's job security because a lot of people commit crime. And, so we still have this backlog from back in 2019, and we still got a lot of new cases coming in every day. So we're just working overtime at this point to be able to get a lot of these things taken care of. So we're still dealing with the after effects of COVID-19, as I'm sure everyone else is at the same time. Trying to see what else. I think that was pretty much, that was it. I think the last thing is like, why did I choose this field? I don't want to be an attorney. I just feel like it was something where I can do the most good, where I can really just help people in that time of need. Every time, you know, an individual is introduced to an attorney, it's never outside of situations like this where I'm speaking to individuals about the profession, but most of the time when a victim of a case or a client comes to an attorney, it's never a pleasant experience. So you get the opportunity to take on their stress, their burdens, and be able to achieve justice for them. I think it's one of the things that makes it worthwhile. We do have our days, you know, there's pros and cons to every job every job or profession that you can encounter. But I think just being able to do the most good and feel a sense of pride in your work, because you know, a lot of the main thing, especially if you're making an investment, you're going to college, you're going to get a master's or go to law school or go to pharmacy, whatever your career path may be, you're making a big investment in it. And you want to make sure that, you know, you love what you do. You don't want to go into a situation after making that big of an investment and find out that you don't like what you do. So that's why it's good to try to, you know, try to, know what you're dealing with, know, okay, this is what I have to look forward to after making that investment, and can I see myself doing this for the next 20 or 30 years, just trying to, try to get that insight. And that's all I have to say. I think that's all I have. I guess we can open up for questions if anyone wants to touch on anything that I may not have addressed that you want to ask me. I'm open.
One question, when in the law school program,
Right.
do you have like a special emphasis that you take? Like, do you take like criminal law, corporate law?
Well, they have basic classes that everyone has to take, especially your first year. So everyone has to take criminal law, torts, which is mostly your personal injury, car accidents, medical accidents, things like that. You have to take civil procedure, basically just tell you the rules of, I guess, the rules of engagement is the best thing to do. If somebody files a lawsuit against you, it teaches you that you have 20 days. You have the first Monday after the expiration of 20 days. So after 20 days, whichever is that first Monday it lands on, so that's the time frame where you have to file a response after you've been served with notice. So that's what you learn in civil procedure. And you also have other rules of evidence that you take. These are all your basic classes that you have to take. Teacher-based contract law, things like that. At my law school, wasn't able to do like an emphasis, but when we got to our 3L year, which is our last year of law school, that's when you're able to take more elective classes. So so some people may want to do oil and gas, some people may want to learn more about intellectual property, or some people may know more about health law, or whatever the case may be. Me personally, I took entertainment law as my elective, and music industry contracts. So that's what I did as far as my electives, and during my 3L year.
You're young enough that you can remember back to high school. Were there any classes that you wish you would have taken in high school to prepare you for your degree or your career now in the legal profession that you wish you would have taken that you didn't?
I would say I wish I probably took more of a speech or debate class. Just I wish I would have took more of those classes in high school and in college, to be honest, because oddly enough, I never thought I would be a trial lawyer. So I kind of just stumbled my way into working for the district attorney's office, and that's a skill you have to develop. You have to go to trial. So you're doing a lot of public speaking, and you're trying to, communicate to the jury and show them, like, look, you should return a verdict in my favor, and here's why, because I'm right. And you have to know how to communicate that to them, while you have another person that's basically telling the jury, no, don't listen to this guy, vote in my favor, and here's why. So those are the type of classes that I wish I would have took more of, prior to law school, and honestly during law school, just to help me prepare more for my role. And I wish I would have took English a little bit more seriously in high school, because you do a lot of writing as an attorney. So and obviously you want to make sure that you're not making simple grammar mistakes, because people expect more of you. So I had to double back and buy English books, well, not English books, but buy grammar books, and just learn the basics, and obviously just learn how to write more eloquent motions or pleadings, things that's going to be judged. So I think those two classes I wish I would have one taken and another paid more attention to back then.
Question also came in. Would the person said that they imagine that being bilingual would be helpful with attorneys in the profession, and if a person isn't, Is that something they need to learn, or are translators provided?
That's definitely something that helps, especially depending on what part of Texas you are in, or just what part of the country you're in. Being bilingual definitely help. Um, but it wouldn't necessarily hurt you, because most people, especially if they work for themselves, or if they work at a firm, they'll have a paralegal there who's bilingual. So if you need to get over that language barrier, they can translate for you. You still advocate for them. And I know this, and I know that sometimes we'll have defendants who don't speak English. So a lot of times the county will pay for an interpreter. So we have a certified interpreter based off the rules, the Code of Criminal Procedure. They satisfy those requirements of being a licensed interpreter, and then they'll interpret for the defendant while we're doing the hearing. So there's ways around it. Obviously, if you can do it, it kind of makes you more marketable, because people hire the attorney. So if they like you, they know how to communicate with you. You can probably get more clients that way. But if not, you just also say, we have somebody at our office who can translate for us. So you can always find a way around that.
And one other question that had come in, are there any special requirements for attorneys who are in private practice versus attorneys that work for a government agency or a corporation?
Well, for a government agency, like for if you work in DA's office, or you work in maybe the United States Attorney's Office, if you're doing federal law, yes, I mean, you just got to be more of a, not all attorneys have to pass character and fitness, but obviously if you're trying to be working for the government, it's a more extensive background check. Obviously they still drug test you. They'll still drug test you. So I know people's thoughts on marijuana is changing now, but obviously if you work for a government agency, there's not, you're not able to do it, because the taxpayer dollars are paying your salary. So obviously the public doesn't want individuals on any type of narcotic, handling their business, basically. So you don't really see that as much in private practice. They're a little bit more relaxed, but so because it's a private business, so they kind of have a little more leeway than what we would have. And obviously, there's a greater expectation if you work for the government, even when you're off the clock. You're never really off the clock, because if they catch us doing something inappropriate, we're going to be on the front page of the newspaper, like, look, assistant district attorney or district attorney did this, and we always have that spotlight on us. So it's a little bit more conscious of, I work for the government. Not to say in private practice, because you're still an attorney, so they still expect more from you. Just being an attorney by itself, but definitely if you're working for the government, it's even more. It's even a greater scrutiny that's placed upon you. So that's one thing to consider. And the two, in private practice, you have a little bit more. You have a little more opportunity to make a little bit more money, but then you have to find the clients who can pay you to pay for your retainer, and so you kind of be more of a business person as well as knowing the practice of law. So that's just I guess the more requirements. But you still have, they're always going to ask you, do you have a bar card? Are you licensed? Are you in good standing? Do you have any complaints on your license? Because if you do a bad job, or if you're not upholding, the profession the right way, clients can, file what's called, they can file a grievance against you. So a lot of times they'll check that and make sure that you don't have grievances get filed under your license name. And then, of course, they all want you to know how to communicate effectively and have great writing skills, and being able to talk, communicate to know what to say when you're talking to a victim of a case, or a person who's dealing with going through a divorce, or whatever the case may be. You gotta know how to communicate with them. Basically, you gotta be a people person in a certain sense. And most jobs in the legal professional ask that you know how to do that.
Does prompt another question. Do attorneys have, like teachers, do you have to pass a background check?
Yes, they call it a character and fitness. So,
Oh,
so obviously they run your background. You know, if you had a slip up and had an issue running with the law, obviously as long as it's nothing too crazy, you can still get admitted. But you have to be truthful. So if you lie and they found out that you have some of the background, they will automatically disqualify you. And then so they'll send notices out to your employer to kind of see, you know, what type of person he is. And obviously you have they'll reach out to other people that you know when they're doing their investigation on you. So that's pretty much the background check. You have to fill out all these forms when you first get into law school, and it's called like a letter of intent to take the bar. So you want to make sure that you don't really, you know, make too crazy of a mistake, you know, because if so, you know, you'll be one of those people who can graduate from law school, but they won't let you take for the bar because you can't pass the character of fitness. So, or they may let you take the bar, but you can't be licensed. You can't be a licensed attorney because you can't pass the character of fitness part of the exam. So, you know, fortunately, you know, that does happen. You know, so you have to. So instead of being a licensed attorney, you can use that degree to do other things with it, because it still looks good when you say you graduate from law school. So yeah, but there is a background check, and obviously it still checks and balances once you get licensed, because you know if you do anything that will reflect poorly in your background, they can take your license. And then the big thing, every attorney, every licensed attorney in the state of Texas, we get what's called the Texas Bar Journal. And then at the end of that magazine, they have a list of attorneys who's been suspended or put on probation or disbarred, which means they took your license away, and they state the reasons why. And so it's a lot of transparency in the legal profession. So you know, you don't want your colleagues looking at you in the back of the magazine and say, "Oh man, I know that guy, I know that girl." Mm-hmm. So you know, basically, you know, just understand that you have a license to protect, and keep that in the forefront of your mind before you make any type of decisions under stress or anything of that nature, because this is how we put food on the table, and you want to protect that.
I think that's a great comment for any career, isn't it? To keep your reputation solid and
right.
You do clean and upright. So one last question that's come in is, what other types of law would you, or cases would you like to be involved in? You mentioned handling misdemeanors now. What other type of work would you like to do?
I guess in criminal law, it doesn't matter. It's just, I mean, obviously you want to add more cases to your repertoire, add more cases under your belt. But if there's a situation where I don't have trial, but the felony department has a trial, I may go and sit in and watch and just learn from them. Because I was able to sit in on a intox manslaughter case where basically this drunk driver, he was riding on a motorcycle with his with a female passenger, and he was intoxicated and veered off the road. And they both flipped over a bike, but the motorcycle fell on top of his female passenger and killed her. So I was able to see how they do intox manslaughter cases, and just get that experience. And I also seen a continuous domestic violence case that went up to the felony level, and I was able to learn from that. So I think every type of case, it just makes you a better attorney just from a criminal standpoint. But prior to being at the DA's office, you know, I handled mostly probates and wills, and I think that was interesting during my time there, because when you're doing probate and a person has a house, and you know, and they're married, you kind of learn a little bit of everything. You learn more about real estate law, about family law, and as well as probate. So I think I would like to get back to doing probate at some point in time in the future. And I wouldn't mind trying to learn personal injury and learn that. But I think what I'm doing now is just setting the groundwork for all those things, because everyone appreciates an attorney that knows how to go to trial and win, and that will carry over to, what's called a transferable skill. So no matter what area of law that you're in, they're like, oh, you know how to go to trial? Perfect, because a lot of people, they don't like going to trial because there's a lot of uncertainty. Again, public speaking, they don't want to, you got, all these people looking at you, and they looking at you like, okay, why should I listen to you? A lot of people don't like that. They'd rather just, file motions, do a lot of things behind the scenes, but don't really like going to trial. So that's pretty much the point. I think I would like to do other areas of law as well, but I think at some time in the future. But I think just learning the trial experience has just been definitely a blessing.
Great. Well, good. Well, I bet your days are certainly very interesting with all the different things you
It's never a dull moment.
found or observed. Yes, definitely interesting. And I also appreciate you bringing forward transferable skills. I think that's so important to see, all the skills we build upon as we learn and grow. And so I want to thank you again, Mr. Johnson, for an informative and inspiring presentation. And I want to thank you all for watching, and make it a great day. Bye now.
Thank you.